I found a very interesting topic today called Composable Enterprise Architecture. Now, if you really ask me, enterprise architecture is supposed to be composable. I mean, there is no other form of architecture besides composable. But stay with me for a bit. This is an article that I read from Gartner, where they have come up with this idea called Composable Enterprise Architecture. Now, what is composable? The concept of composable is very simple. They focus on four things: modular, autonomy, orchestration, and discovery. Modular is a very old concept. I first read about modular many years ago when I was studying web services. This was Java Web Services. This was the year 2002 or something, where we understood the concept that a web service is where you expose the APIs and they are easily accessible and independent of the implementation and so on and so forth. There's a contract that you set up, and as long as you meet the contract, it's going to work fine. And then web services turned into web services architecture and service-oriented architecture, and then microservices and microservices architecture and so on and so forth. But here we apply modularity at the enterprise architecture level. It basically means that all the different components of enterprise architecture, whether it's business architecture components or data architecture components or application architecture components or technology architecture components, they are modular. They are very easy to remove and replace with new modules, or remove and upgrade and fix and refit it into the system, and the system continues to work. So the evolvability of the system becomes better. Organizations, when they are modular, you are easily able to remove components which are a part of the business without impacting the rest of the business, and fix it, upgrade it, make it better, and then refit it into the overall system. And that is modularity. The next is autonomy. And modularity goes very much hand in hand with autonomy, because systems need to be self-sufficient, right? If you remove one system, one module of the overall organization, it should not impact the whole organization. The rest of the organization should continue to function as if nothing has changed. So autonomy is a very important component for the organization to be modular and evolvable. And resilience, right? Autonomy provides resilience. One module of the organization gets impacted, the rest of the organization continues to function as it is, right? The third is orchestration. Orchestration is orchestration between different services, right? You've got multiple services, each service performing one and only one thing very nicely, completely autonomous and modular. And we orchestrate between the various services. We pick up one component, it does its job, take the outcome of that component, move it to the next one, that does its job, take the outcome of that component, move it to the next one, and so on and so forth. Now, if you really ask me, when we say various systems in the organization talk to each other, or various components in the organization talk to each other, or various applications interact with each other to perform a certain business function, not really that much. I am running a program called the Cloud Acceleration Program at work, and we're trying to see how many applications we can migrate to the public cloud AWS, and how quickly. And there are various reasons. One of the biggest reason is cloud first is our strategy. So we're trying to see if we can decommission systems on our on-premise data centers. We're trying to reduce the cost of the on-premise data centers and move it to AWS. But the cost is just one of the very small objectives of this program. Overall, we want to improve the usage of native services to make it more scalable, more elastic, more innovation friendly, and so on and so forth. But while running this program, I was studying the various applications that exist in the organization, and I'm looking at the entire landscape. We started specifically with those applications which are running on end-of-life technologies, operating systems, databases, hardware, which are either already end-of-life or about to go end-of-life in a few weeks, months, etc. And then we moved on to other applications which do have more potential on AWS than they are where they are. And I was trying to understand the relationships that exist between all these applications. So let's say that I have to move one application onto AWS. Does it have dependencies on other applications? Do other applications depend on on this application? Will we have to move all these applications together as a group, or can I move them independently? And what I've come to realize is majority of the applications that we are migrating to the public cloud are actually independent applications. So in the real world, I feel that interdependence of applications on each other is not as much as we think it should be or think it would be. Most of the applications are independent applications and you can move them alone. Nevertheless, there is orchestration, and it's one of the components of the composable architecture. And the fourth one is discovery, right? So we have modularity, we have autonomy, we have orchestration, and then we have discovery. Discovery because we need to discover all the services that already exist within the organization. So let's say that we have an application that performs a certain function. Let's say it does content management. Now, a new business function comes along and says, we need content management. Do we have in place discovery or not? Do we know whether content management systems are already in place that can be reused, or are we going to go with a new one? So discovery also plays a very important role because it reduces redundant components within the organization. They keep it minimalistic, only those components which are absolutely required and unique, and then we reuse them as much as possible. So together, all of this form composable enterprise architecture. Now, if you think about it, all enterprise architecture frameworks today encourage composability. So composability is not a new concept. It's been there for a very, very long time. One of the techniques that are mentioned in the TOGA framework, by the way, is capability-based planning, right? And what capability-based planning does is it looks at the organization as a group of capabilities. Everything that the organization does. The definition of capability is the ability of an organization to do something, right? That's the capability. That's actually the English definition of capability, the ability to do something. So we look at the organization as a group of capabilities. If it's a pharmaceutical organization, for example, then manufacturing is a capability. Distribution is a capability. Drug discovery is a capability. Marketing is a capability. HR is a capability, and so on and so forth. Now, these are very coarse-grained, large capabilities. You can break it down further, right? Like clinical trial management is a capability, or in drug development, animal trials, human trials, etc., etc. All of these are smaller capabilities within which there will be further, more detailed capabilities. Now, what capability-based planning does is it makes the organization modular. And how? One is, once you don't look at the organization as just people, right? You don't look at organizations as systems. You look at them as capabilities. Now, when you know that you have a certain capability, that capability can be utilized across the organization. So you don't worry about who is using that capability. You only look at that capability as a capability so that it only exists once. To give you a simple example, let's say content management. Content management is a capability. What is content management? Let's say there are a group of writers who are sitting and writing stuff. Let's say it's a pharmaceutical company, and you have a group of writers who are writing articles for journals, right? Scientific journals. But these articles can also be used to publish actual outcomes of discovery process, right? It could be used for marketing purposes also. It could be used for sales also. So there are different organizations within the overall enterprise who can use this particular capability for their own function. But the capability continues to be only one unique capability. So when you see an organization as a group of capabilities, it becomes a little bit more modular, because then each capability is autonomous, each capability is unique, each capability is modular, each capability is reusable and rediscoverable, and so on and so forth. Now, these are business components of the enterprise architecture that I'm talking about. Each capability is a business component. But these capabilities are implemented in the form of systems. So, for example, managing customer relationships, right? Managing customer relationships is a capability, but it is implemented in the form of customer relationship management application. It could be Dynamics CRM, or it could be SAP, or it could be anything, right? So an application is the embodiment of a particular capability. Similarly, you could have business intelligence tools that provide business insights on data that is being collected within the organization. And that becomes an embodiment of being able to take strategic and tactical decisions about the organization. I already gave you the example of content management systems, right? Somebody's doing content management. You have content management systems that manage the content that is being developed. So really, if you think about it, you can look at all capabilities as systems within the organization, and then you can make these systems modular, autonomous, orchestrating, and discoverable. Make them composable. Now, why am I talking about composable enterprise architecture so much? I mean, not that composable enterprise architecture as a concept is a new concept. It might have been introduced by Gartner recently, or I'll have to take a look at the date of the article, but it might be a concept introduced by Gartner, but it's not a new concept. Enterprise architecture, by its very nature, is supposed to be composable. I'm talking about all this because I was thinking about it the other day, that how are we going to use artificial intelligence in various aspects of the business? And considering I am so passionate about enterprise architecture, I started thinking, will there be a time when we won't require enterprise architects anymore? And I think that time is also coming. If you really think about it, organizations are becoming more and more composable naturally, organically. We are building systems that are API based, that are modular, that are microservices architecture based over a period of time. We are moving on to commercially off the shelf software more and more rather than unique customized software. We are moving on to platforms of applications rather than having small applications. We are going from monolithic architectures to, modular microservices architecture. And when all this happens over a period of time, it becomes easier for us to build artificial intelligence systems that basically peeks into all these different applications, all these different capabilities within the organization. And that's how I bring it together. We have business capabilities, and then business capabilities are embodied as applications that are modular, orchestrable, autonomous, and discoverable. And then all these applications ultimately are business capabilities. You can look at it like that. So artificial intelligence can now peek into all these modular systems, all these composable components of our enterprise, and gather information. And then not only gather information, build insights on top of it. And not only build insights, generate reports and dashboards for specific, unique stakeholders of the organization. So really, it is possible that in the future, the enterprise architecture capabilities will have a very small human component and an extremely large artificial intelligence component. We still would need humans to tell our AI systems what's really needed, what to build, and so on and so forth. But that effort would be minimalistic, and artificial intelligence will do the enterprise architecture for us. It's a beautiful world, if you really ask me. It's a utopian world. Of course, there's the component of people not being there doing enterprise architecture, but I feel we don't really need people to do enterprise architecture. And then people are going to find other roles and other jobs, and we'll be doing better stuff at that point in time when AI takes over the enterprise architecture. But until then, we are here to guide these systems, to guide these artificial intelligence capabilities, how to do enterprise architecture. And it's a thought. Let me know what you think about it. Do you think that that's going to happen? Do you think that's going to happen next year, or 5 years from now, or 50 years from now? What do you think? I mean, it took us 90,000 years to go from hunter-gatherers to agriculturists. Probably 10,000 years to go from agriculturists to industrialists. Probably 500 years to go from there to computers. 50 years into the space age and artificial intelligence. How many years do you think it'll take for us to go there? Once again, I would like to remind you that this is a discussion. Enterprise Architecture Radio is not just a podcast. Feel free to reach out. Talk to us, This is a place where practicing enterprise architects, IT professionals, and business professionals come together to talk, to listen, to guide each other, to help each other out, to get the guidance that we need, but most importantly, to have a ton of fun.